parking lot. I backed in, put the tailgate down. April, Jason, they were doing some emceeing, kind of getting the crowd going. They had the whole parking lot cordoned off, and then they gave some announcements. They announced that it was Pastor Paul Nather's birthday. We sang happy birthday even. Did some worship. It was good to get back together and worship. And then Pastor Paul gave a message on us being, as Christians, being salt and light, and more worship. And then at the end, it was great. I got to go out and see just a bunch of people, a lot of the middle school ministry kids, which, oh, wait a minute. I gotta go. I gotta give the message for April this week on Mayhem. Wow, tune in. Hey, by the way, were you there this weekend? On Sunday? Oh, of course, you're always there. Hey, everybody. Hey, sorry about the interruption there. April, like I said, April is going to have me give the Mayhem message this week, continuation of her message for the month. And wow, what a roller coaster it has been. This COVID thing, man, it reminds me of the wild thing down at Valley Fair in Minneapolis. I kind of like roller coasters, but you get in them and you're a little excited, and then you pull up to the top and you go, oh man, what did I do this for? And then all of a sudden you go and it's scary, and then you hit a corner and you get thrown around and you don't know what's next, and then by the end, I don't have a very good stomach, so by the end I'm ready to be off, if you know what I mean, because nobody needs to know what I ate for lunch. So in any event, I mean, who would have thought, guys, that that there'd be 2 weeks of school at home, that parents would be teachers, and teachers would be at home with their kids being parents when they should be teaching. All these Zoom meetings that I'm going on at work, trying to get that figured out. Church on NBC, that's different. Well, that's good, but that's different. KFOR 10 o'clock, by the way, just in case anybody wants to watch. So quickly, we discover that life is not perfect. It is total chaos. Who would have thought that such a small little virus would totally upheave the whole world? There's no Wednesday night basement. I mean, think of the seniors, the graduations that are going to be totally different with the social distancing, and 8th graders, they didn't get a chance to really, do their end things. And even my daughters today in the 5th grade, they kind of went to school and got the contents of their stuff given to them, and off they went. I mean, that's it. There's changes in how you visit with your friends, weddings, funerals, jobs, birthdays, drive-by birthdays. Who would have thought that? So the reality, though, is that there's always been chaos. Well, not always. I shouldn't say always. There's always been chaos since one event in history, when we chose as a human race, I guess, to choose to try to be better than God. When Adam and Eve said, "Yeah, I'll take a bite of that," and then from there went downhill. This situation, though, with this COVID, it's unprecedented. Obviously, it never has happened, at least in a person's knowing about this kind of pandemic. Nobody's lived old enough to remember it. And I certainly don't know what it's like to have been a kid, because I never experienced this as a kid, guys. So I have to say, I have to empathize with you, because I don't know what school's like or what you're going through. But here's the good point. It's not all lost. We're not all lost because of it. Because guess what? Like we mentioned over and over and over again, we've got Jesus. So let's get some facts straight. I like facts. Facts keeps us grounded. Facts that that make us think about things kind of from a different perspective. And here's the fact: Jesus was even in the middle of mayhem, and so he's experienced mayhem. In fact, straight from the Bible, factual, Mark 4:35 through 41. There's another similar account in Mark 6, but let's not get ahead. Let's just focus on today's facts. Maybe next week we'll talk about, or next time we'll talk about Mark 6. So I'm going to read. So Jesus calms the storm. That day, when evening came, he said to the disciples, "Let's go over to the other side." Leaving the crowd behind, they took him along, just as he was, in the boat. There were also other boats with him. A furious squall came up, big storm, huge storm, and the waves broke over the boat, crashing over the boat. I'm sure there was tons of water in there, so that it was nearly swamped. Jesus was in the stern. He's in the back of the boat, sleeping on a cushion. He's sleeping during a furious storm. You know, kind of like a roller coaster. I'd be sick. I've gotten sick on boats before. Not a good thing. The disciples woke him and said to him, "Teacher, don't you care if we drown?" He got up, rebuked the wind, and said to the waves, "Quiet, be still." Then the wind died down, and it was completely calm. He said to the disciples, "Why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith?" They were terrified and asked each other, "Who is this? Even the wind and the waves obey him." Wow. I mean, I can't even imagine. I mean, that's some... I don't think we can really appreciate that type of miracle unless we're in it. And we're kind of in it right now. So he was right there with the disciples, right there. So you might be thinking, well, that was then. Or that was with the disciples. That was just to prove a point with the disciples. Or wait a minute. That was only applicable when Jesus was around, when he was walking the earth. But here's something exciting. When we got Jesus, when we accept Jesus, when we have his DNA interwoven in our bodies, our soul, our minds, our spirit, our heart, I mean, he is with us. He is just as much with us today as he was with the disciples. Now, that might not seem like it's possible, but spiritually, it's true. Spiritually, it's factual that he's with us. The disciples, I mean, they were in total chaos and fear. I mean, that boat was rocking and rolling, just like the Wild Thing down in Minneapolis, but it wasn't fun. There's no doubt about it. You know, what did Jesus do? Man, he was chilling. He was sleeping in the back of the boat, and so he didn't abandon ship. No, he stayed there with them. I mean, he knew what was going to happen. He came with. He didn't say, "Hey, get over it, you guys. Quit your whining and belly aching. It's just a storm." He didn't criticize him. He may have chastened him a bit, but he showed compassion. He was concerned. He was with them. He stuck it out with his disciples. He stayed in the boat with them. He was in the roller coaster. He was in the chaos, in the mayhem. And he stayed there with them to comfort them and be with them. And then he calmed the storm. He calmed the COVID. Just like Pastor Paul talked about this Sunday. You know, North Dakota wasn't hit, the world wasn't hit probably as hard as it could have been. 500 million people in 1918, if I'm correct, in 1918 that died. Now maybe some of you are thinking, I got a hard time trusting or believing in all this Jesus business at times, where I'm afraid to give up control. Here's a little secret. The disciples felt the same way at times. They didn't want to believe. They denied Jesus. They didn't pray for him. They thought, well, is he ever going to be back? Here's, whether you believe it or not, the disciples were just like us. So don't lose hope, guys. So now what? What do we do now that we're in the chaos and now that we know Jesus is with us, that he will never leave us or forsake us? We look up. We look up to God. But then we also look things up. We look things up right here, right in the Word, where the facts are. And Psalm 33, 1 through the rest of the whole chapter is a great place to start. And this whole thing, this whole Bible, not a thing, but this book, this written Word of God, talks about God always being dependable for us. Always. From the beginning of time, which there was no beginning because God always was. Can't figure it out. Blows my mind. Boom. God's always in control. He's dependable in that way. God knows and sees us where we're at, in the good times and the tough times. When we want to run, he sees us. When we come close to him, he sees us. Another great comforting thing is that, which I sometimes just can't fathom, is God unconditionally loves us. He just does. He created us. So we look up. We know God is dependable. Then we also have to look inside. When we're struggling, it's okay to look inside and really take a look at ourselves, and we have to kind of try to figure out, how might God be working in us? What is he trying to do? What are we learning about ourselves through our circumstances to challenge us to become more like Jesus, and also just to get through what we're going through? What is he showing us? What is he showing us about ourselves and about his sovereignty and about others and about where their hurts might be and where we might be able to help them? What is he trying to teach us through looking up, looking in? And then we look around. We look around. And look around at the beauty, look around at the chaos, but we look around to other people. God wants us to love him and to love others. And so we look at other disciples, essentially, and people who don't know Jesus. For us as Christians, we're all disciples. I mentioned that a little bit earlier. We're all disciples. And if you're struggling, you can look at others for help. You can look at others to give help, and you can look at small group leaders. You can look at family, your own family, parents, siblings, grandparents. Don't be afraid to ask questions, to ask for their wisdom and guidance and knowledge. You can look at friends, reliable friends that are a positive impact. Because the reality is, guys, none of you guys are dumb. You know which friends are probably a good influence and a bad influence. I know which some of my friends are potentially a bad influence or good influence. Positive people hang around positive people, typically. and negative people hang around negative people. I kind of get a kick out of when I used to work in psychiatry. Parents would say, "Oh yeah, my kids just got into a bad group of kids," and it's like, well, the other parents are probably saying your kid is one of the bad kids that are hanging around bad kids. If that makes any sense. I hope you get what I mean. But you can also look at school. Look at the staff at school. Look at Zach, Mr. Costa, I call him. Look at Angie, another small group leader, and Jade working out in the snack shack. I mean, they've got big hearts. So look around. Lastly, share your story with other people about what Jesus does for you. That iron sharpens iron business. Helping people with the mayhem that we're going through helps us. It keeps us grounded. It gives us a sense of purpose in knowing that we're doing the work of God. Hey, it's been a great time, guys. I appreciate the opportunity April gave me to reach out to you. Nobody replaces April, though. There's no doubt about that. She's got some exciting stuff coming up over the summer. Can't wait to get back already in the fall. That'll be awesome. And by the way, I'm gonna let you a little story here. You know who I was talking to earlier before the video started? You probably know who I was talking to. It was Jesus. He's always with us. Hey, take care, guys. If you need something, let me know. Let the small group leaders know. We're always there for you. We love you guys. Bye.